All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Does anybody ever name their children Judas? Does that name ever come up?
I bet not.
We name our children after people that we think are good people in history, and especially from the Bible. Matthew's a common name, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not so many people name their son Jesus, though. That's one.
No.
Except in the Spanish culture, they name him, right?
Yeah, and then they'll pronounce it Jesus sometimes.
Well, that's the way it's pronounced. I always wondered about Judas. I'm not a Bible scholar in any way, but I've often wondered, because I did go to Sunday school when I was a kid. Is he the only one in the Bible with a last name? Right? Everybody else didn't seem to have a last name, right?
I know. He's like the only one.
And even Christ isn't Jesus' last name, right? That's like his title or something?
Yeah, exactly.
So Judas Iscariot. Linda Stasi is on the phone. Linda is a columnist for the New York Daily News and a co-host of NY1 News. She's a contributor to the O'Reilly Factor. Chris Matthews, Good Day New York. She's named one of the 50 most powerful women in New York. Whoa. I want to go to New York with her. And she's got a book called The Book of Judas. It's a thriller novel. And in this book, we find out about the Gospel of Judas. And I want to find out if this is real or not, in which, Judas may not have been the guy we're led to believe he was. Linda Stasi, good morning, Linda. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
I'm okay.
Hurricane, everything with the hurricane.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for. Yeah, the water levels are high. You can go surfing in my backyard now.
Yeah, we had that in New York with Sandy. It was just terrifying.
I know.
Terrifying.
Are you in Manhattan? Where are you right now?
I'm in Manhattan, but we had a house in Atlantic Beach, which was Long Beach, which was hit hard,
right.
Very hard.
Okay. So is there a Gospel of Judas? Is that real, or is that part of the fiction?
Now here's what's crazy. In the 1970s, there was unearthed in Egypt. There was this 2,000-year-old codex in a cave, and it was called the Gospel of Judas, and it was actually supposedly the words that Jesus said to Judas, as opposed to the other Gospels, which are Jesus went here, Jesus did this, Jesus did that. This is actual spiritual and universal truths that Jesus told to Judas, which he didn't speak this way to anyone else. So it's very interesting.
Wow.
So, because Judas was not only his most beloved disciple, but he was the group's treasurer. So, I mean, if he wanted to betray him, he wouldn't have done it for 30 pieces of silver, which I found out was the cheapest amount you could pay for a slave in the area at the time, and he would have just ran off with the group's treasury.
So the other guys got it. The other guys got it wrong, or they? Is it symbolic? What does it mean?
After all this research, well, let me step back a bit. So I'm in my house, which I was just talking about in Atlantic Beach, and I was so glad to be done having written my first book, The Sixth Station, which took years of research and staying with crazy monks and traveling with an exorcist priest from the Vatican. So I'm laying on my couch and saying, thank you, it's all over, I never have to do it again. And I look up on the shelf. Now, I had the house for 12 years. Look up at the shelf, and I see I, Judas, an old book by Taylor Caldwell. So I pull it down. I say to everybody in my family, who brought this in? Nobody had, because it was a 40-year-old book. So I start reading it, and I found it really interesting. But wait, it gets really weird. 2 days later, I'm in Princeton, New Jersey with my daughter, and we had a girls' getaway weekend, and I'm figuring I'm going to lay around, get spud, get manicured, get a mani-pedi. She's a pain in the butt, so she wanted to go to the bookstore. So we went to the bookstore, and laying on the front table is The Gospel of Judas, interpreted by Elaine Pagels. And I thought, this is 2 Judases in 3 days. I'm condemned. I'm condemned. So I start reading it. It gets worse. It says that the book was found and lost and found on the black market. And then it says it ended up in a safety deposit box rotting in Hicksville, Long Island. And I'm like, wait a minute. I grew up in Hicksville, Long Island.
Right.
Then it says in the Citibank branch on Broadway in Hicksville, Long Island. That was my branch.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, it was so bizarre that I thought, oh, no, here we go again.
Yeah.
So I had to research it and find out what it was, and I came to some very weird and startling conclusion.
Okay, so now the book is fiction, right? Is it?
Yes.
Is it fiction based on the book on the Gospel of Judas, though?
It's a book about, it's a novel. My first novel was about a reporter called Alessandro Russo. So this is the second in the series. So this is a fiction book about the Gospel of Judas, how it comes into, parts of it come into her possession, the lost parts. And there are pieces of this gospel that are still lost somewhere. And it's a thriller, and it's very high tension, but it's all the information that I found out from this book, all this crazy spiritual information, including Jesus telling Judas, "You're my most beloved. This is what you got to do. You got to let them know you'll be the most hated man in the world, but this is what you got to do in order for the resurrection to happen." And I'm like, "Whoa, this is really weird." Gosh. And I know,
wow.
and I researched
wow.
it. I researched it, and then I realized when I'm researching, so Jesus he was like the Elvis of the time. You know, everybody knew where he was. He told everybody where he was having dinner every night. He rides into Jerusalem on 2 donkeys, not one, and he tells them he prays in the garden every night.
How do you do that?
For Judas,
how do you ride 2 donkeys?
Oh, no, I have no idea. That's in one of the Gospels, right? That he rode in on 2 donkeys. He's a trick rider. I don't know. He was Jesus. He could ride in on 12 donkeys.
I'm just trying to picture it. All right.
I can't even ride one, but he is Jesus, so he could ride as many as he likes.
All right.
So
let me ask you.
Wait a minute.
Can I ask you about your own religious beliefs? Did this like rub you the wrong way? Did you have to struggle with some of your own beliefs in order to do this?
No, because I'm a reporter, and that's what I do. I take I've always told everybody who's ever worked for me, a tip is just a tip. The rest of the stuff, all the ice and the dirt and everything, is down below. You got to dig. So I dug, and I realized that the story of Judas never actually sat right with me, and it would be like having to betray where Justin Bieber is. Everybody knows where he is. So it just didn't sit right to me. And then I thought, well, history is written by the victors, and the apostles were the victors, but they all ran away. None of them, except for John, were even at the crucifixion.
All right, okay. Let me ask you about the last name. Is he the only one in the Bible with a last name?
Iscariot just is where his father's name and where he came from. So everybody at that time was like Larry from, Brookville, or, Joe from someplace. So he's the only one whose name was, because
Larry's from?
Nobody else won. I guess I know. He's from Orlando.
No, I'm from Long Island, same as you.
Oh, really? Where did you grow up?
In Merrick.
Oh, okay. I had a house in Freeport.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's where I used to get the train. I used to take the train for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the reports of Judas committing suicide, do you feel are untrue, that he just ran away and got a new life somewhere?
No, I don't think he ran away at all. I think he was just wiped out of the Bible, because in one of the Gospels it says only John and the beloved disciple was there. The 2 Marys are named. Everyone's named. None of the other. So I think that was him. Now there's another story that he just imploded. I mean, so they made up all kinds of stuff to get rid of him. But they also got rid of Jesus's family. They didn't pretend that he didn't have any siblings, and they pretended that Mary Magdalene. They made it as though Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. None of that was true.
Okay, but I thought the Bible did mention the brothers. I thought there was quite a few mentions of that.
Not in the way. When they didn't make them part of the church, and then they went on this whole thing that he was by himself. There was all kinds of misleading information.
Wow.
So what the mentions were not, they were not part, what I meant to say is they were not part of the church. They got rid of them.
Oh, okay.
The whole family.
There's no saints.
In the founding of the church.
Oh, okay.
And Mary even went off to live in Turkey.
Really? Okay, so the book is the Book of Judas. If you look at the streaming video, that's the cover on the streaming video. I found it on Amazon, so you can get it there. Do you have a website you want to direct us to?
Yes, it's just Linda Stasi, STASI.com.
Okay, lindastacy.com. Okay.
And you have a lot of information on there about stuff that I did and found, and it's real interesting
Well,
stuff.
it definitely makes us curious about so many different things. That in a short interview, you've got us really curious about things.
Good.
Linda, thank you for being on the air with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
If you find an animal or a bird that needs help, call Animist Foundation at 352-843-6379. They will come and get the animal if you can't take it to them. High school students and those with court-ordered community service can earn required hours in this rewarding environment. And veterans who share a bond with animals and parents who have been through mental or physical trauma are especially welcomed. Families, clubs, and tourists can arrange for tours of Animist without driving for hours or miles. Consider volunteering. Animist needs you.
We all know that sound means there's going to be some need for collision repair work, and soon. What you may not know is that it's your choice where to have that collision work done, not the other guy's insurance company. Because your vehicle is much more than just transportation. It's like a family member. So don't bring it to just any chain collision center. Bring it to Lyle's Collision Service. When it comes to getting your vehicle back to 100%, you can count on Lyle's Collision Service. They're not some fly-by-night chain company. They're a family-owned and run collision center with over 33 years of experience. Working with collision repairs and vehicle restoration, Lyle's Collision only uses quality parts and doesn't take shortcuts like some other companies. They take pride in getting the job done right and in a timely manner. They specialize in insurance claims and they strive to get your vehicle back to you as soon as possible. So